why people go to a design consultancy is because of the varied experiences and exposure that they had, rather than to do it in-house in certain ways, like sometimes.
Welcome to another episode of Stuck in Design. Each week, we pose questions to three founders, Donn, Jieyu or Tze, who run award-winning design agency, Stuck. They'll share with us tips and lessons on design, creativity, and business. Without further ado, let's get into it.
So do you actually, you mentioned having this kind of value add beyond what was already described in the brief, right? Do you see that as something very doable and what should be done for actually most projects that we as a design consultancy take up?
Sorry, like the value add as in...
because you mentioned about having kind of value adding, to consider the company's goals and things beyond just this project.
Yeah.
And so therefore, as a design consultancy, we can kind of, be able to take that in and weave in some sort of value add beyond what was the brief. Yeah. So do you think that is doable or something that we should strive to for all of the projects that we take on?
Yeah, I think so. Even if you don't call yourself a consultant, even as a friend, maybe, or a designer, or just someone that has come to you for advice, anybody, right? The truth of the process is that you take in your own experiences and you listen to the person, and therefore you look at what is needed. Naturally, you talk to your friend and you ask what does he or she wants to get out of this, or actually he might not tell you, but you can actually kind of sense it as well. Sometimes people just want you to listen, right? But if he's asking for certain advice, it's also a responsibility that you share with him your experiences and therefore provide him your point of view. But if you take it to an organizational level, then as a design consultancy or as a design company or as a group of designers or people, you will have shared experiences from different projects and different industries. That's why you draw parallel to it. And therefore, even though you're not an expert in that particular field, you're not entrenched in it for like 20 years, but you provide an alternative point of view. And that in itself is unique because every house, every consultancy, every group of people would have a unique exposure and experiences. So the basis of a design training is that you are able to understand, because you can listen and understand to what the client needs and therefore formulate a clear pathway using design to help them achieve their aims. The added, or rather not to say added, but the other side of it is that you do provide a sense of an alternative perspective based on your own exposure because of the work that you're doing. And I think clients appreciate that because it's always refreshing to hear a different point of view. You might be wrong, but it's fair to just provide that point of view and have a discussion about it. Yeah. So I wouldn't say that it's a necessary value add, but I think that is the part of it that is part of, or in fact, quite a big value that why people go to a design consultancy is because of the varied experiences and exposure that they had, rather than to do it in-house in certain ways. Sometimes they need, so it also depends on what they need, and sometimes that's really helpful. Yeah.
So in addition to this kind of fresh perspective or having different the multitude of experiences and projects that a design consultancy may have, are there any other aspects of engaging a design consultancy you feel that a company could be able to leverage should they have projects with other design consultancies?
Sorry, can you rephrase the question?
So in addition to having that different perspective, right, as a design consultancy, are there any other aspects that companies can leverage on when they seek projects from these design consultancies?
I think it depends on what they need. So it helps when you can clearly define your needs as a client. For example, if you need deep technical expertise, you go to a consultancy that has a lot of track record in a certain field. If you need broad perspectives, you might like one that has a varied range of projects, not necessarily very deep in them. If you need stakeholder convincing, you might need the consultancy to play a mediator / communicator role, which then you have to take into account the culture of your company and how your the culture of your boss, your stakeholders, to see if this consultant or this company is the right fit. So I think the beauty of it is that there is a free market out there with multiple agencies that has different cultures and expertise and experiences built up. And then depending on your organizational need, you should be shopping around to look at a consultancy that fits strategically what you're looking for. Yeah, so I don't think there's any hard rules. I mean, there's of course the baseline fundamentals like quality of work, professionalism, track record, risk that you would assess on a day-to-day basis or just on a fundamental level. But other than that, I think the way that you might want to choose a consultancy is really based on what you need and how that fit is.
So maybe, I don't know, would there be any kind of, concrete ways that, say, a client company may tweak their design brief to design consultants, right?
Yep.
Is there any concrete ways that they can do that to cater, a design brief to better find a consultancy that suits what they really need for that particular project?
I think a lot of them already do it, but some don't do it with, I think, or rather, if they do it with a sense of importance about it, I think it'll be really helpful to consultancy. So what they're already doing, and I see a lot of briefs being written already, are that they do tell you about the genesis. So they usually do give a short introduction of why they want to do the project. So the genesis of that project, the reason and the motivation, the challenges, they often put out so they have some problems, right? They face this challenge. And then they would also write in the brief the expected deliverables, the expected outcomes. I think it could be sensitive, and therefore the brief sent out is always very vague, and you have to kind of have a face-to-face meeting to unravel a lot of these things. The more information they give and the more transparent the information is, it's typically more helpful for the consultants to understand. Number one is what they're getting into. Second is, are they in the right position to advise? Because I think if you have this understanding of a consultant, see at the other side of the fence, right, it will help in you crafting the brief, is that if you understand design consultancies are also assessing their risk. They wouldn't want to get on board a project that they are not confident of delivering unless they are really desperate. And because of that, then you could have saved yourself a lot of resources and time, both sides, if you had been more transparent about the reason and the deliverable and the challenges that you face. Because then it gives both sides equal chance to assess and decide if they are the best fit. And they might even be willing to recommend other companies that they know of who actually fits better their needs. So I think even just embracing the mentality to know that the consultants are not just here to get the job, but they are also here to see if they can really help. Because it's also an opportunity cost for them to take out a project that they thought was this, but actually was another thing. And they spend time unraveling, and then worse still, at the end of the day, they realize that their team setup and their experiences were not the best fit for the client, and both sides lose in that sense. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today on Stuck in Design. See you next week for more tips on design, creativity, and business.